First fish of the day. Been fishing for probably an hour now. I've been mapping this weed bed for probably off and on for like 3 weeks now. That's all I've done since I've been up here at Leech. I have fished very few times, and I have been idling around like crazy, and it's awesome because it's paying off. Auto chart showed my weed bed. We're sitting in no weeds, and I went through a spot where there wasn't any weeds. As soon as my auto chart showed me that there's weeds out there, fish comes in, got it. MK65 gets it done again. I love it. The old bump board to dive. Good musky bumper. I own this business, and if you didn't get the news, I don't own it anymore. Jeff Schulte, which is the guy that also makes the bait that I just caught the fish on, he owns it now, so get with him if you need a board. Can't beat him. Get this one unpinned. Come over here, meanie. Hooked exactly how you want her to with a flap. That one got in her off the airborne. This is a new flap for me. It's the first fish on it. It's had a couple eat it. It was in last 2 shoots ago. Brad had a couple fish eat it. First one for me though. Jeff had this one on one of the musky shows this winter, and it's my favorite topwater bait collar is like the Lake X baby duck, so I knew I had to get this one, and it's already paying off for me. That fish smoked it out there. Super cool. Gotta love an MK65. Favorite bait ever. Nice pretty thick fish. Beautiful Leech Lake fish. Oh. There we go. Hey, look at those teeth. She needs to eat more meals. A little better than I thought. Super awesome fish to start the day on. Start the trip on. Like I said, we've only been out for an hour. Fished very, very little this weed bed. Got a lot more mapped out. Let's get her on the bump. Don't go nuts. Well, that's a lot bigger than I thought. 46. I thought it was a 43, 44 incher. I love it when they do that to me. But let's get her back and get after another one. Oh! Beauty, beauty fish. Welcome back to Mayhem's 10,000 casts. Let's get some more fish. My first year fishing Leech by myself. I mean, we came up with Matt one day last year, or 2 or 3 days. But this is a really big body of water, and kind of what I've done is I've just tried looking at places that I haven't heard about people fishing, and doing a lot of idling around. I mean, I have done a stupid amount of hours out here idling around. And what I'm doing is I've got my Hummingbird on, and I've got it auto charting as I go. And when I hit weeds, it auto charts the weeds. And that is such an awesome tool, especially on a big body of water like this. You can have a million waypoints, or you can just have the auto chart that shows where the weeds are instead of putting a dot on every weed edge that you find. But as you can see there, we got one waypoint there. The bright green is where the weeds are. The dark green just kind of like not really good weeds. And the blue is like mud or sand. So I'm just trying to keep the boat just kind of on the edge of that really bright stuff and working my way through all this and auto charting as I go, because I don't have this completely auto charted. I figured I'd auto chart it as I fished it because I knew it was going to be good. Very, very good cabbage here. But we're going to get back at it and hopefully catch some more fish. We got quite a bit more to fish here. Keep SMK65 running.
So as Chase was talking about, what we're doing here is we're fishing these scattered weed beds. It's massive. It's a huge, huge structure, big flat, but ultimately there's just pockets of weeds. And so what I want to talk about a little bit is efficiency. And when I'm saying efficiency, I'm talking about bait selection. I'm throwing a trigger right after we got that fish released, we got back on the spot. I had a fish follow in, just boom, 2 casts later. Efficiency is all what you want to be thinking about when you're fishing these fish. Definitely something to think about. Bait selection is huge. It's very, very important. I'm throwing the trigger, Purple Tiger, Team Rhino color. The reason I'm throwing this, plain and simple, is I can work it fast. Boom, boom, hit the weed pockets. Chase decided to go with topwater. Topwaters are a great way to be efficient on the water. You're going to see some of those fish come up for it. Obviously, it got the job done. So definitely keep in mind, when you're fishing big, giant weed beds like this, go fast. Start locating the fish, and you can always go back and hit them again.
Magnum Ventures Inc., a woman-owned company, has you protected when it comes to snow, sand, and wind structural fencing products, providing residential, commercial, governmental, and Department of Transportation options for superior property and roadway protection. Proudly made in the USA, Magnum Ventures Structural Snow Fence reduces the drifting and icing of roadways, decreasing the number of accidents and the need for roadside assistance. Contact Magnum Ventures at www.magveninc.com for your project needs.
Hey Chase, you seen Carrie around? I haven't seen her anywhere. She's not in her office.
No, I haven't seen her anywhere, but a little bit ago the UPS guy came and I think he had like a giant Team Rhino box. I thought it was yours.
What? A Team Rhino box? I didn't order anything from Team Rhino.
Well, if you didn't order a Team Rhino box and I didn't, she had to. Definitely in the garage hiding from us. Oh yeah, there she is.
Go figure.
All right, I knew it.
She's got the box.
What'd you get?
Nothing?
Shop at teamrhinooutdoors.com for all your muskie needs. Well guys, it's a little bit later than what you've seen us last time when we caught that fish. We caught that fish, had a decent day of fishing. The next day was extremely brutal. Weather got really hot, water temps came up. We've been kind of waiting it out, trying to run out when you get like a little bit of a cool down or some wind. It's just not really doing it. It's been about a week and the water has been playing around in that 77 to 81 degrees. Today we're out and we were going to do some fishing, hope that it cooled off a little bit last night. It really didn't. We got out here and it is 80 to 81 everywhere. Right now we're sitting at 81 and a half. So we're going to do something a little bit different for you guys. I don't know if you guys are going to love it, like it, whatever. We're going to try it, see if you like it. So we got that fish. So now we're going to break down how to utilize our electronics, our side imaging, how to utilize your map, boat control, all that stuff. I figured this would be a great opportunity to give you a long platform, a very in-depth explanation on how we're using our electronics, what we're looking for, what we're looking at, and just show you guys how we break down a body of water. So we're going to get after it here and start breaking down this stuff and showing you guys the screen and talking about what we're seeing. First of all, I kind of keep my chart speed when I'm really moving, wanting to cover a lot of water. I keep my chart speed and I'm running a Humminbird. I keep it on 4. And the reason I keep it on 4 is I'm going about 3.5 to 3.7 when I'm idling. I feel like I can pick up structure really well. I feel like I can pick up fish very well. Doing 3.5 to 4 miles an hour on chart speed 4. A lot of guys think that the chart speed is, so if it's on 3, you need to go 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour. It's kind of relative to that. But I feel like 3.5's that sweet spot on chart speed 4. Some guys like 3, I like 4, like I said. But what I'm looking for is transition. So I idle down a shoreline like this. You got a lot of rock. If you look on the side imaging here, you can see this is basically shore. So you've got some decent rock coming into the lake here, 10 feet in, and it kind of transitions. There's a transition line here, and then there's sand. You got some pebbles, whatever, and there's a couple logs in there. If there were fish in here, I would say the fish would be in this sand in this area, or right here on this edge. But, so we got the rocks there. So that's kind of what rocks look like, and the sand's going to be that flatter. And a lot of times here on Leech, because you got so much wind, you actually see some ripples in the sand. More so than you would on, you know, smaller bodies of water that doesn't have that much sand or that much big waves. So you got that sand ripple, you can tell it's smooth, and when it starts getting broken up, you can tell it's rock. Now weeds will kind of look broken up too, but you'll be able to tell it's not as sharp looking, so to speak. It doesn't look as hard. And we'll show you some weeds eventually here too. One thing that is cool, that we had a storm the other night, it looks like it blew in a tree into the lake. So we're going to be able to show you this tree. So we're going to go right by it here in a second. Let me swing over just a little bit closer. This is a tree that's fell off the shore into the lake. Which I've not really seen that too many times in Minnesota, so this is kind of cool. Watch here, this is shore. See the black? That's the shoreline. That dark spot is that tree limb. So you're not going to pick up the big trunk of the tree because the big chunk of the tree is not in the water. It's just the tips of the tree. So the tip of the tree comes into the water right here, off the shore. So you got the shadow from the tip of the tree, and the tip of the tree is just right in there. So that's, so to speak, that's kind of what a laydown looks like there. I mean, laydowns here are going to be a lot different than what you've seen us fishing back home and down south. But there's a laydown. Kind of a cool thing to show you. See there, this is out of the water, this black is. So that's out of the water, and then this is going into the water. You got a line of rocks, and then it turns into pure sand all the way across the rocky shore there. Lots and lots of this on Leech. Right there's some logs just laying on the bottom. Those logs are not really off bottom too much, like suspended or nothing. They're just kind of laying on the bottom. That's why that shadow is so close to that tree. So when you're looking at side imaging, if you have a fish or anything and you see the bright yellow or whatever color you're using, the bright spot's going to be the object, and then the black is going to be your shadow. So the farther away that the shadow is from your bright spot is going to tell you how far down in the water column it is or how high in the water column it is. Those being logs just laying on the bottom, you're going to have a bright spot and a black spot right beside each other, basically touching, because they're right on the bottom.
20 years of mayhem. Still built right here in the USA. Creating and making history one bait at a time. Catching personal bests in boats season after season. Find Muskie Mayhem Tackle at any fine retailer or go direct at muskiemayhemtackle.com. Let the mayhem begin. Muskie Bumper, a solid measuring platform for your catch. Constructed with strong plastic that floats and stainless steel hardware for years of use. Check us out at fishbumper.com. We measure your success.
So like I said, we're just going to drive around, and if we see something that looks cool to show you, that's what we're going to do. And right here in a second, we're about to hit some reeds. They're still going down the same shoreline, and I've actually never fished this shoreline, so don't think this is my Chase Gibson's secret shoreline if you recognize it. It's not. I've never fished here. But anyways, we'll go down the shoreline. We're about to hit some reeds, so if you want to watch the screen here, right there, all those little dots, so you can just see spots. Those spots is just the shoots of reeds coming up. You can kind of see some lines striping through the screen here. That's those reed stalks like this you're getting a shadow from. So reeds are kind of a cool thing to see because they're not like a ball of weeds where you can't really see past them or nothing. It's just a bright spot with a really skinny little shadow behind it. Back out a little bit. There's the shoreline. There's reeds here. A couple log piles. And then there looks like an edge right here coming in, and there's just weeds, just little tall, I'm guessing junk weed, maybe some cabbage mixed in there, I can't see it, but just a little bit of weeds here. This is what weeds look like. So how that sand was really smooth looking and the rocks were hard looking, see how the weeds kind of look fuzzy. And then another way to see it is in your directly under your boat, you'll actually see the weeds coming up. But here it looks fuzzy. Weeds are going to look more fuzzy-like. So one thing too I want to talk about is one thing that I really stress, and what I try to do when I'm trying to side imaging a structure to see if there's fish on it or whatever, to see what's there, is I try to drive in as straight a line as possible. I don't want to be whipping around like this, and then you go back over here. So what that does is distort your screen. So I'll show you that. So if you watch, see how this is clear right here? And then that looks like there's lines. It's really hard to see actually, but a little bit of lines going back and forth. That's me turning, and the transducer is picking up the same object over. So I just turned hard left, and there it shows up on the right-hand screen. Now I'm turning hard left. See how you start getting lines in here? These are dots. Now you're getting lines. It's because the side imaging transducer is hitting the same thing, causing it to paint the same image, smear the image, so to speak. So if you go straight, it's hitting a new target the whole time. If you spin, you turn into it. So if you turn left, your left side transducer is going to be hitting the same object, and it's kind of going to smear your image almost. So that'll kind of distort your image as well. And like that, just say there's a walleye up there. Well, if you hit that walleye and you just happen to turn when that walleye is sitting there, that 20-inch walleye or 15-inch walleye is going to look 30 inches now. You know, because it's hitting that fish, and it's just drawing a picture of that fish. It's not hitting from tail to head really quick. It's hitting tail to midsection. It's kind of sitting on midsection a second because you're spinning, and then you go back to the head. So now that fish just screwed 10 inches. So you could mistake a walleye to a muskie. So I try to hit, if I'm really looking for fish, I try to go straight as absolutely possible. So I actually don't have it on my boat, but on Brad's boat with his Garmin trolling motor has side imaging in it. So in Minnesota, we get a lot of wind. We do a lot of drift fishing. So what drift fishing is you get wind, you put the wind at your back, and your boat just goes like this on the structure that you're wanting. You don't really use the trolling motor or nothing. In that instance, your side imaging is kind of useless. It's good for like seeing follow-ups, but as far as like picking out a fish out there, it's not really the best unless you just happen to be like maybe side slip drifting a little bit using your trolling motor to pull you. But we're going to talk about how you're just going straight. So when you're going straight like that, you're drifting, so your boat's drifting this way. So now you have your entire side imaging is going to be that smear that I'm talking about. So everything's going to be very distorted and not really very pretty. You're not really going to understand what you're looking at. So what we started doing, like in Brad's boat with that side imaging, when we were drift fishing, we would take his trolling motor, put it in, and turn it 90 degrees. So now, instead of this, we're relying on this side imaging transducer because it's smeared. Now this transducer is going this way, and we're drifting that. So it's basically just like having this back here, this way. So now when you're drifting, you have the trolling motor down, turn it 90 degrees, and now you're seeing out in front of you and behind you on a perfect clarity image of side imaging. So if you have that side imaging on your trolling motor, that's a great thing to do when you're drifting. Put your trolling motor on, turn it 90, now you have side imaging. So here in a second, we're about to hit a weed edge. So it's kind of just like, I don't know, like maybe a mossy bottom is what I would describe it. It's not sand, it's not hard, it's not rock, it's just kind of mud / a little bit of weeds, but there's a really nice weed edge right here, and I'm about to hit it here in a second. Right there it is, coming up on the screen. Super hard to find weed edge, right across the screen. So you went from not really fishable. I mean, there could be fish out here, but not really what you want to target out here. And you hit an edge in a really thick weed bed. You want to target this edge and target it up in here. When we're talking about us fishing weed edges, that's the key right there. That is the weed edge that we're fishing. Not this specific one, obviously. And this one's a little shallower than what we're normally doing in the past seasons, because a lot of the fishing we're doing is down around Brad's. Weed edge is a lot deeper. Leech doesn't really have many weeds, and quite frankly, a lot of the weeds that they do have here is not really good, pretty weeds. It's not a ton of cabbage here. This weed bed here is just a lot of crap weed, just super junk weed. I'm sure they use it, but those weed edges is what you want to look for a lot of times, especially when those fish are transitioning from open water to structure. The weed edges usually tend to hold a lot of fish first, so always give those a look. The weed edge is pretty easy to see, but that's it right there. So if you see here, I'm coming in, that weed edge. The weed edge is coming in on my right side. So I'm going to actually swing all the way around to where, so here it comes, it's getting closer to the center of the boat. Right there, I just hit a point of it. Now the weed edge shoots to the left. So that's a point of weeds right there. So that would be a very good spot. But I'm going to spin around and drive down the edge of the weeds. But that's where you want to look. That's what you want to look for. If you got like a big massive weed bed, it's just a straight line. There's always a little turn into it or a point. That right there is an awesome, awesome point. I'm not cut any muskies off that. I have cut a lot of walleye off of it already though. So here's the weed edge coming back on. We did a complete 180. So now, like if we're wanting to try to mark some fish on the weed edge to see if they're there, I'm a little close now. I'm right on top of it, but turn left a little bit. So I'm turning left. Turning left. Now I'm going to straighten back out because the weed edge left. So now I'm going to turn back to the right, try to get it perfectly to where it's running this way on the screen. So here it is coming back. I'm going to start turning left. So I did a hard turn left. So I was coming into the right to the weed edge. That's this. So then I did a hard left. So it, and then straightened out. So then I would be right, watching right on the edge of the weed edge. So like this. There should be some walleyes here. I'm not seeing any. But a lot of times you just see little black spots just poking through all this. And that would be walleyes, muskies, whatever. Fish. Now I'm leaving it, so now I'm going to turn to the right, because this is on the right side of my boat. I'm going to turn to the right to catch back up to this edge. There's another little inside turn right there. That's boat control. So this what I just explained there, if it's coming on the screen, you want to turn left. If it's coming over to the right, you want to turn right. It makes sense, but it's kind of confusing to a lot of guys. That helps you with boat control. So right now I'm idling just because we're showing you, but if you're driving with a trolling motor, it's doing the same thing. So if you're trying to fish a weed edge and that the weed edge seems like it's getting closer and closer to the boat, instead of crashing into the weeds, turn left with your trolling motor and try to keep that weed edge a straight line on that side edging. That'll tell you that that weed edge is perpendicular to your boat and you're casting right to it. So if it starts coming in to you, start turning left a little bit. If it's coming out, if it's going away from you, start turning right a little bit. Right there's that weed edge. So my waypoints that you just saw are here, 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 and it keeps going up. So I've actually already mapped this one out. What you can do, if you've got your units, if you only have one unit, you can do this. So you scroll over, right to that weed edge, do mark, mark, waypoint, blah, 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 created. Go to this, which I've also run my auto chart on right now. But right there's that waypoint, right there's the weed edge. You can kind of tell I don't have the auto chart super dialed in yet, but there we're going. It's kind of darker spot. Well, that light spot's the really, really thick stuff. So there's a thick edge right there coming in, and then that's that point that we ran over right there. All right, so now I'm going to pull up on a shoreline that I have seen some fish on. Hopefully we can find some muskies to show you what a muskie looks like on side edging, up shallow. And here's a fish right here. So right there's a fish. See that shadow? I'll actually zoom in. So that's the shadow. It's going to be really hard to see as I don't have my graph super dialed in right now. There's a little bit, but there's a little bit of a bright spot right there. You're probably not going to see that on camera, but you got your shadow. I know that shadow doesn't look perfect, like a perfect muskie, but I will tell you this. A lot of my clients get in the boat, and I show them things, and I'm like, that's a muskie. And they're like, ah, that's not a muskie. That's not, it doesn't look like a muskie. The thing that everyone expects to see is these perfect image of the muskie with the front fins, middle fins, back fins, everything. Yes, you get that occasionally, but it's not all the time. A lot of times it's that right there. It's just a big blob. And the reason I know that's a muskie is I know from the size of it, right? That's something that you guys got to learn on your own, and it just takes time. That's why you want to keep your chart speed on the same speed when you're doing this. So what I'm doing is I'm on 4 chart speed, and I'm going about 3.5 miles an hour. So now I know what a size a walleye should be. I know what size a muskie should be. Now, it gets kind of tricky when you're in a place with a lot of carp or a lot of gar. Gar are really bad because they are shaped just like muskies. That kind of gets a little squirrely on you and can be rough, but it just takes time to learn it. knowing the size. But just keep in mind, it's not always going to be a perfect musky imprint. If your transducer, if you're not sure if it's set right or whatever, you can check out a video. By the time this comes out, we should have it on our YouTube channel. It'll be a video from 5-6 years ago, something like that. Brad and Matt Seifert did of mounting side imaging transducers to boats. They did aluminum and fiberglass, so that should cover your guys' boats if that's what you got. So that you need to go back and watch that video. Make sure that your transducer is mounted just like that, and if it's not mounted like that, I would highly recommend moving it because it makes a world of difference. Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions at all that we didn't really cover, I know it's kind of brief, but we wanted to run through a lot of things and just show you what things look like. Just comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on KOTV, feel free to reach out to me or Brad via email, whatever, Messenger on Facebook. Reach out, ask us questions. We will be more than happy to help you. Sorry it wasn't an action-packed episode. Water got hot this year. That's all you can do. We don't want to mess with any of that. I don't like messing with the hot water. I've dealt with it back home. Didn't imagine in a million years, my first year on leech, that I'd deal with it here. It's being such a big body of water. That just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how big the body of water is, it can get hot. So we didn't want to play with it. We got one fish there at the beginning of the episode, as you saw. Then the water got hot. We decided we were going to give it a little bit of a break. And this was the best option that we thought we had, was to do this episode for you. It doesn't look like it's going to pull off in the relative future. So hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, drop comments down below if you have any questions. We would love to hear from you. See you guys next week.